Once upon a time, there lived a man named Kunle who had a daughter named Itunu. Kunle loved his daughter very much and would do anything to make her happy. He worked as a taxi driver because he couldn't find a job after graduating from the university. He often dropped his daughter off with his mother whenever he went to work. He worked very hard to meet his target by the end of the month. One day, as Kunle was driving, he got a call from his mother, Mrs. Remy. She told him that she couldn't find his daughter Itunu when she went to her school to pick her up. Kunle got very scared. He hurried to drop off the passenger he was carrying and rushed back home. When he got home, he kept on wondering where his daughter could be. He called his daughter's school and they told him that her mother had come to pick her up. Kunle wondered what his ex-fiancée Bisola wanted again. The month had not yet ended, so he wondered what her reason could be. He sat down and started remembering all that Bisola had put him through. He remembered meeting Bisola a few years ago in Ogun State during his final year of school. He had visited his sick grandmother when his cousin came to the house with Bisola, who was from a neighboring village. He couldn't resist her beauty and asked his cousin to introduce him to Bisola, and that was how they started dating. Kunle loved Bisola so much that he spent all his feeding allowance from his parents on her. But Bisola would always ask for more money. Kunle started working part-time to have enough money to give her in order to make her happy. Despite Kunle's effort, Bisola was never satisfied. She constantly asked for more money and Kunle found himself struggling to keep up. His studies began to suffer and he often felt exhausted from balancing school and work. His friends warned him that Bisola was taking advantage of him, but Kunle was too in love to see it. A few weeks after Kunle graduated from school, he planned a surprise party for Bisola where he intended to propose to her. He invited his friends and eagerly awaited the moment. However, when he called Bisola to invite her, she told him she was busy. Kunle felt disappointed but later received a call from Bisola's friend, Ronke, who promised to bring Bisola to the party if Kunle paid her. Desperate, Kunle quickly transferred the money to her, and to his surprise, Bisola arrived at the restaurant. As soon as she walked in, Kunle went down on one knee and asked her to marry him. Bisola was shocked and didn't know what to say. She had never expected this. Panicking, she ran out of the restaurant, leaving Ronke, her friend, and everyone staring in shock. Kunle was speechless, wondering why Bisola had refused his proposal after they had confessed their love for each other. Bisola's friend Ronke came over to reassure him that everything would be fine. That night, Kunle's friend Femi tried to advise him that Bisola did not love him and that he should move on with his life and forget about her. Kunle agreed and promised himself that he wouldn't contact her anymore. A few days later, Kunle and his friend Femi were invited for an interview at a big company where they had applied for a job. The two friends were excited and prepared for the interview. But the day before the interview, Kunle got a call from Bisola's friend Ronke, who sounded worried and scared. She told him that Bisola wasn't feeling well. Kunle immediately rushed to Bisola's house, wondering what had happened to her. When he got inside, he saw her crying and rushed to her side, feeling worried. Bisola told him that she was sorry for refusing his proposal, that she didn't mean to, but got panicked when she saw the ring. She asked for a second chance and suggested they go to his house so he could give her the engagement ring. Kunle couldn't bear to see her cry and agreed. He loved Bisola very much. When they got to his house, he gave her the engagement ring and they got engaged. That night, Kunle and Bisola sat together in a small living room. They talked late into the night, rekindling old memories and discussing their future. Kunle's heart swelled with joy, believing that their love story had finally found its happy ending. However, the excitement and emotion of the night made Kunle forget about his important interview he had the next day. The next morning, Kunle woke up and saw Bisola holding his phone. She had turned it to silent mode. He quickly checked his phone and saw missed calls and messages from his friend Femi, reminding him about the interview. Panicking, he checked the time and realized he had only 30 minutes to get ready and reach the company. He asked Bisola why she didn't wake him, and she told him she didn't want to disturb his sleep. She apologized for not waking him up early and asked him for money, order some food because she was very hungry. Kunle gave her some money and hurriedly showered, got dressed and rushed to the interview. Femi's face lit up with relief when he saw Kunle. When he entered, the receptionist told him he was almost 15 minutes late but directed him to the interview room. Kunle knocked and entered, facing a panel of staying interviewers. They looked impatient and disappointed. Kunle apologized and tried to answer their questions, but he knew he had made a poor impression. Leaving the building, he felt defeated as he left building. Femi met him outside, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. Don't worry, Kunle. We will find other opportunities. This isn't the end, he said. Kunle nodded, but his mind was filled with worry. And when he got home, he explained the situation to Bisola, who told him not to worry, that the job was not meant to be his. The next day, Bisola came to Kunle's house and told him she didn't want to be in the relationship anymore. She gave him back his ring and told him that she couldn't wait until he got a job, that she was tired of living a life of poverty. Kunle begged her not to leave, but she refused and left. That same evening, Femi visited and told Kunle that he got the job from the interview they both attended. Kunle didn't mention anything about Bisola. After Femi left, Kunle cried like a baby. Kunle called his mother and told her all what was going on. She advised him to move to Lagos, so he moved to Lagos and continued as a taxi driver. One day, after a hectic day, Kunle was trying to rest when someone started banging on the door. When he opened it, he saw Bisola, who told him that she was carrying his child. She started crying and insulting Kunle, saying he abandoned her and their unborn child and had refused to send them money. Kunle was confused and tried to explain, but she shut him up and entered the house. Whenever Kunle took Bisola to the clinic for antenatal, she acted as if he was her driver and always commanded him to get things from the car for her. One day, Kunle's mother came to visit and saw Bisola wearing a tight girdle to hide her pregnancy. She was shocked and advised her to loosen it. Bisola got angry and started insulting Kunle's mother. Kunle tried to explain that his mother was only giving her some advice, but this made Bisola even angrier and she continued insulting his mother. Kunle couldn't take her insults any longer and he slapped her. Bisola saw this as an opportunity. She refused to eat all day but felt better when Kunle offered her some money. She told him that if he truly wanted the baby she was carrying, he had to pay her monthly because she hadn't planned on having a baby. She also said he had to give her whatever she asked for. Kunle didn't know what to do, so he quickly agreed, and that night Kunle couldn't sleep. He wondered why he loved Bisola so much. Few months later, Bisola gave birth to a beautiful baby girl and they named her Itunu. She always complained that she had become fat and unattractive and that Itunu cried a lot. She often abandoned the crying baby and didn't bother to take care of her. Kunle made sure he came home early to take care of the baby and always reassured Bisola that everything would be fine. But Bisola refused to listen to him. Kunle often tried his best to balance work and taking care of Itunu. Despite his efforts, Bisola remained unhappy and distant. She would often go out with friends, leaving Kunle alone with the baby. He felt overwhelmed but kept going for the sake of his daughter. One day, Kunle's mother visited again and noticed how tired he looked. She offered to help take care of Itunu, giving Kunle some much needed rest. Seeing how happy Itunu was with her grandmother, Kunle felt a sense of relief. The next day, Kunle came home from work and found the baby alone and crying. He searched for Bisola but couldn't find her anywhere. When she finally came home, she started shouting at Kunle when he asked her why she had abandoned the baby. Kunle was frustrated and worried about Itunu's well-being. He tried to talk to Bisola about taking better care of their daughter, but she refused to listen and continued to blame him for everything. The situation became unbearable for Kunle. He felt torn between his love for Itunu and his difficult relationship with Bisola. Kunle was shocked and heartbroken when he came back home one day and saw that Bisola had packed her belongings and left. He picked up Itunu, who was crying. He tried to calm her down. As he read the notes Bisola dropped, he wondered what had gone wrong. He had been away for work, hoping to provide a better future for his family. Now, he was left alone with their child, unsure of what to do next. He decided to call Bisola, but her phone was switched off. Feeling helpless, Kunle sat down and hugged Itunu tightly, promising himself that he would take good care of his child, no matter what. Meanwhile, Bisola left Kunle's house and moved in with her friend Kemi, who owned a school and lived in a very big house with her husband. She lied to Kemi, saying that Kunle had kicked her out and she had nowhere else to go. Bisola asked if she could stay in the boys' quarters for the time being. Kemi agreed but told her she didn't want any trouble. Bisola promised that she wouldn't cause any problem. Then one day, when Kemi and her husband were at work, Bisola entered their bedroom. She searched the entire room and stole some money she found. She quickly tidied up the room and left. 2 days later, Kemi noticed that her money was missing, and when she confronted Bisola, Bisola started crying and asked how Kemi could accuse her of stealing. Kemi felt conflicted. She didn't want to believe her friend could do such a thing, but the timing was suspicious. Despite her doubt, Kemi decided to let it go, hoping the money would turn up somewhere. Then 2 weeks later, Bisola came up with a plan. She lied to Kemi, saying that Kunle had called and told her to come and take their child in Tunu because he was tired of taking care of her. Bisola also told Kemi that she didn't know what to do, but Kemi quickly offered to help and told Bisola to bring Itunu to come stay with them. She even said she could enroll Itunu in her school for free. Bisola smiled to herself, knowing her plan was starting to work. Then, the next day, Bisola remembered the dress she wanted to buy. She entered Kemi's bedroom again and stole some money, and she quickly left the bedroom and put the money in her handbag. She thought about calling Kunle to tell him that she would be picking up Itunu from school so she could come stay with her. But she remembered that she had changed her phone number after leaving Kunle because she didn't want him to contact her. She quickly dismissed the thought of calling him. Besides, Itunu was also her child. She thought she didn't want anyone to stop her from achieving her plan. With the stolen money safely in her handbag, Bisola made her way to Itunu's school. She arrived just as classes were ending for the day. Bisola approached the school office and confidently told the staff that she was there to pick up her daughter. The school staff, recognizing Bisola from previous visits, handed Itunu over without any suspicion. After picking up Itunu, Bisola decided to go to the market to buy the dress she had been eyeing. The market was crowded and noisy, with people haggling over prices and moving in every direction. Bisola held Itunu's hand tightly at first, but as she got more engrossed in looking at clothes and bargaining with sellers, she let go of her daughter's hand. "Itunu, stay close to me oo," Bisola said, distractedly flipping through a rack of dresses. Itunu, curious and playful, started wandering around the market stalls. She was fascinated by the bright colors and interesting items for sale. Bisola then found a dress she liked and began negotiating with the seller, forgetting about her daughter. Minutes turned into half an hour, and it wasn't until Bisola had finished her purchase and turned around that she realized Itunu was missing. Panic set in. She started calling out Itunu's name, but there was no response. She frantically asked people around her if they had seen a little girl, but no one could help. Bisola searched the market, her heart racing and her mind filled with fear. She couldn't believe she had been so careless. She knew she had to find Itunu quickly. Meanwhile, as Kunle was remembering all that Bisola had put him through, his phone suddenly started ringing. He grabbed his phone and was surprised to hear Bisola's voice on the other end, sounding worried and confused. She told him that Itunu was missing and that she couldn't find her. She lied, saying that she had picked Itunu up from school. But when they got to the school gate, she noticed that Itunu wasn't with her school bag. She went back to get it, only to return and find Itunu missing. Kunle was shocked and asked her where she was. He quickly rushed over to the place and saw Bisola crying. As soon as he arrived, Bisola told him that they should go toward the direction of the market where she had bought the clothes. Kunle, filled with fear and desperation, agreed and they both started walking towards the market. As they walked, Kunle kept asking Bisola for more details, hoping to find any clue that would help them find Itunu. Meanwhile, Itunu, realizing she was lost, began to cry. She started searching for her mother. All of a sudden, an elderly woman who had been observing everything approached Itunu and told her that she would take her to her mother. The woman's name was Shade. Shade was in her late 60s and had always wanted a child of her own, but she never did. She lived alone and never got married. She took Itunu to her house and tried as much as she could to make her comfortable. I will take her as my own child, Shade said to herself. All of a sudden, Itunu started crying again and asked Shade to take her to her mother. She cried until she slept off. Meanwhile, when Kunle and Bisola reached the market, they started asking people if they had seen a little girl. They described Itunu and showed her picture to anyone who would listen. Some people shook their heads, while others tried to help by spreading the word to the vendors and shoppers. Kunle and Bisola split up, each searching different parts of the market. Kunle ran from store to store, calling out Itunu's name. His heart was pounding and he felt like he was in a nightmare. He couldn't imagine his life without his daughter and blamed himself for not being more cautious. They searched everywhere but could not find Itunu. Then it started getting dark. Kunle, feeling more desperate by the minute, noticed a woman approaching them. She looked concerned and asked, "Are you looking for a little girl?" Kunle's heart leaped. "Yes, have you seen her?" The woman nodded. "I saw an elderly woman with a little girl fitting that description." They were headed towards the outskirts of the market. She told them that she had already informed the security men in the market about the incident. The security men in the market told Kunle and Bisola to go home, saying they had already started their investigation and that they should come back the next day. Kunle, feeling tired after the search, asked Bisola if she would come with him to his house. Bisola looked at him and started shouting, saying she would never come to his poor-looking house. She said she had a beautiful mansion where she lived and would never associate herself with a poor taxi driver like him after they found Itunu. She asked him to drop her off at Kemi's house. That night, Kunle could not sleep. He prayed for his daughter's safety. The next morning, Kunle went to his daughter's school to find out what really happened. The teachers told him that Bisola had come to pick up Itunu and that Itunu did not forget her school bag. The gateman also told him that he saw Itunu and Bisola going towards the direction of the market after Bisola picked her up. Meanwhile, when Itunu woke up, she ran out of the old woman's house in search of her parents. Luckily, as she was going, she saw her father and some security men from the market. She quickly ran into her father's arms. Kunle hugged his daughter, his eyes filled with tears of joy. The security men later arrested the elderly woman. On their way home, Itunu told Kunle everything that happened. How her mother, Bisola, had taken her to the market to buy some clothes and how she had gotten missing. Kunle dropped Itunu off with his mother and went to Kemi's house to find Bisola. When he arrived, he saw that Kemi had thrown all Bisola's belongings out and told her that she never wanted to see her again. Kemi explained to Kunle how Bisola had been stealing from her and how she had made some investigation and found out that Bisola had been lying about Kunle not taking good care of her and Itunu. Kunle felt disappointed and told Bisola that he never wanted to see her near him or their daughter again. He said that because of her carelessness and greed, they had almost lost their daughter. Bisola could not believe what she was hearing. She didn't know where else to go to but to go back to the village. The moral of the story is genuine love is about mutual respect and care. Kunle's love for Bisola was genuine, but Bisola took advantage of him. A relationship should be balanced and respectful. Kunle forgave Bisola several times but finally realized he needed to move on for the sake of his daughter. Sometimes it's necessary to let go of toxic relationships for personal growth and happiness. Being responsible, especially as a parent, is crucial. Bisola's carelessness almost led to losing their child. Responsible actions are vital for the well-being of our loved ones. Thank you.